The boy who had witnessed the fall of humanity was named Elias. He didn't remember much about his early life before the attack, only fragments of laughter, warm meals, and the comforting hum of a bustling colony. Those memories were now distant echoes, replaced by the haunting images of destruction and loss. Yet somehow he survived. Elias wandered for days after escaping the ruins of his home city, scavenging scraps of food and water from abandoned buildings. His tattered toy remained clutched tightly in one hand, a lifeline to innocence long shattered. The galaxy around him seemed vast and indifferent, its stars twinkling mockingly as if they knew how small and insignificant he truly was. It wasn't until the third day that salvation came, not in the form of aliens or divine intervention, but through humans. A group of survivors, ragged yet determined, found him hiding beneath the remnants of a collapsed building. They called themselves the Remnant, a collective of displaced humans who refused to let their species fade into oblivion. Though wary at first, they recognized the spark of resilience in Elias's wide, tear-streaked eyes. One woman, Commander Raina Voss, a hardened veteran with scars etched both on her skin and soul, took particular interest in him. She knelt beside him, her voice soft despite the battle-hardened edge it carried. "You're safe now, kid," she said, extending a calloused hand. "We'll take care of you." Elias hesitated, his grip tightening on his toy. But hunger and exhaustion overruled fear, and he finally reached out, allowing himself to be pulled into her arms. It was the first act of kindness he'd experienced since the world burned, and it planted a seed within him that would grow into something extraordinary. The Remnant operated from a hidden human colony nestled deep within an asteroid belt, shielded from alien detection by layers of rock and cloaking technology. To Elias, it felt like stepping into another world entirely. Gone were the charred streets and crumbling structures. Instead, towering domes housed thriving communities, hydroponic farms provided sustenance, and makeshift training grounds buzzed with activity. Commander Voss became a surrogate mother to Elias, though her methods of parenting often leaned more toward discipline than affection. She saw potential in him, potential forged not just by grief, but by survival. "You've seen what happens when we lose," she told him one evening as they sat staring at the stars outside the colony's main dome. "Now it's time to learn how to win." Under Voss's guidance, Elias began rigorous combat training alongside other children raised in the colony. Each day started before sunrise, with drills designed to push their bodies and minds to the limit. Physical conditioning alternated with tactical exercises, teaching them how to think several steps ahead in any scenario. Weaponry classes introduced them to everything from primitive blades to advanced energy rifles smuggled from black markets. But it wasn't all war games and weapons. Education played a crucial role in shaping these future leaders. Teachers drilled history, science, and philosophy into their young charges, ensuring they understood not just how to fight, but why. Humanity's past mistakes were dissected, analyzed, and learned from. Lessons on unity and leadership emphasized that strength lay not in individual prowess, but in collective purpose. As the years passed, Elias distinguished himself among his peers. His natural agility made him excel in close-quarters combat, while his quick thinking earned him top marks in strategy simulations. More importantly, he possessed a charisma that inspired others to follow him without question. Whether rallying teammates during exercises or comforting younger recruits struggling with homesickness, Elias radiated a quiet confidence that drew people in. Still, nights were harder. When the lights dimmed and silence fell over the barracks, Elias often stared at the ceiling, replaying the horrors of his childhood in vivid detail. Sometimes, tears slipped down his cheeks as he clutched his old toy, the last tangible connection to the family he'd lost. On those nights, Voss would appear silently, sitting beside him until sleep claimed him once more. She never offered empty platitudes. Instead, she reminded him why he fought. "Your pain is your fuel," she'd say. "Use it to make sure no one else suffers like you did." By the age of 18, Elias had risen through the ranks faster than anyone expected. His combination of raw talent, strategic brilliance, and unwavering dedication set him apart. Where others hesitated, he acted decisively. Where others faltered under pressure, he thrived. And where others doubted the possibility of reclaiming their place in the galaxy, Elias believed wholeheartedly that victory was achievable, if only humanity could unite under a single banner. His promotion to lieutenant marked a turning point. No longer relegated to theoretical battles or controlled skirmishes, Elias led actual missions against alien outposts. These operations were risky, designed to test the limits of human ingenuity and resolve. Under his command, squads infiltrated enemy supply lines, sabotaged communications networks, and even liberated captured civilians from labor camps. One such mission cemented his reputation as a leader worth following. Tasked with disabling a heavily fortified alien relay station, Elias devised a plan so audacious it bordered on suicidal. Rather than launching a direct assault, which would have resulted in heavy casualties, he proposed sneaking into the facility disguised as prisoners. Using intelligence gathered from previous raids, he orchestrated a flawless infiltration, neutralizing guards and planting explosives with surgical precision. When the station exploded in a fiery blaze, severing a critical link in the alien communication grid, the entire colony celebrated. For the first time in decades, humanity had struck a meaningful blow against their oppressors. Yet Elias remained humble, deflecting praise onto his team. "This isn't about me," he insisted during a debriefing session. "It's about every human who's ever fought, bled, or died for our freedom. We owe them everything." His words resonated deeply, spreading beyond the confines of the colony. News of his exploits reached other hidden settlements, inspiring hope among those who had resigned themselves to despair. Slowly but surely, disparate factions began reaching out to the remnant, seeking guidance and leadership. At 25, Elias stood before a council of human leaders representing dozens of colonies scattered across the galaxy. They had convened to discuss a proposal unprecedented in scope: the formation of a unified human military force capable of challenging the alien empire head-on. At the center of this ambitious plan, Elias. "You've proven yourself time and again," Commander Voss declared during the assembly, her voice ringing with pride. "You've shown us that we don't need to cower in the shadows anymore. With Elias leading us, we can reclaim what was stolen from us." Though initially hesitant to accept such immense responsibility, Elias ultimately agreed, not because he craved power, but because he understood the stakes. If humanity failed to rise now, it might never get another chance. Thus, the New Dawn Army was born, its ranks swelling with volunteers eager to fight for a brighter future. As commander, Elias implemented reforms aimed at maximizing efficiency and morale. Troops received specialized training tailored to their strengths, while engineers worked tirelessly to innovate new technologies using salvaged alien components. Diplomacy also played a key role. Alliances were forged with sympathetic alien species who shared humanity's disdain for the oppressive regime. Under Elias's leadership, the army grew stronger with each passing month. Raids became more frequent, targets more ambitious. Alien forces, unaccustomed to facing coordinated resistance, struggled to contain the uprising. Morale soared among the humans, bolstered by the knowledge that they were no longer fighting merely to survive, but to reclaim their destiny. Years later, standing atop a hill overlooking a sprawling encampment alive with activity, Elias allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. The journey had been long and arduous, filled with sacrifices and setbacks. Yet here they were, a united front poised to challenge the very entity that had sought to erase them from existence. Beside him, Commander Voss placed a hand on his shoulder. "You've come a long way, kid," she said with a proud smile. "Your parents would be proud." Elias nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Somewhere out there, the alien queen still ruled, her empire vast and seemingly invincible. But Elias knew better than anyone that even the strongest fortress could crumble if attacked from within. With determination blazing in his heart, he turned back to face the army waiting for his orders. "Today," he announced, his voice carrying across the assembled troops, "we write the next chapter of humanity's story. Tomorrow we march, not to fight, but to conquer. For Earth. For freedom. For everyone who believed we could rise again." As cheers erupted around him, Elias felt the weight of destiny settle firmly upon his shoulders. The road ahead would be fraught with danger, but he welcomed it. After all, he had been forged in fire, shaped by loss, and driven by hope. Whatever challenges lay before him, he was ready. And so the legend of Commander Elias began, a tale destined to inspire generations to come. Elias stood on the dais in the heart of the New Dawn Army's command center, his silhouette illuminated by holographic projections of burning cities and shattered colonies. The images flickered like ghosts, haunting reminders of humanity's darkest hour. Behind him stood Commander Voss, her presence steady and supportive, while rows upon rows of soldiers filled the chamber, their faces etched with a mix of anticipation and sorrow. For weeks, Elias had been traveling across the galaxy, visiting hidden human settlements, rallying survivors, and forging alliances with alien species sympathetic to humanity's plight. Each stop along the way brought stories of loss, of families torn apart, homes reduced to rubble, and dreams extinguished under the heel of the alien empire. These tales fueled his resolve, but they also served as a grim reminder of why this war could not wait any longer. "Brothers and sisters," Elias began, his voice resonating through the chamber with quiet intensity. He paused, letting his gaze sweep over the crowd, meeting the eyes of those who had suffered alongside him. "We gather here today not just as warriors, but as witnesses. Witnesses to the atrocities committed against us. I was there, I saw it happen. I watched my family die. I saw my home burn. And I will never forget." A somber murmur rippled through the audience, heads nodding in shared grief and anger. Elias clenched his fists at his sides, his knuckles white as he fought to keep his emotions in check. The alien queen speaks of unity, of peace. But what she offers is domination. She seeks to erase our identity, our culture, our very existence. We are nothing more than obstacles to her vision of control. And for that, she destroyed everything we hold dear. He stepped forward, his boots echoing sharply against the metallic floor. The holograms shifted, displaying scenes of devastation captured during reconnaissance missions. Entire planets scorched into wastelands, human prisoners worked to death in alien labor camps, children crying amidst ruins. The weight of these images hung heavy in the air, a collective wound reopened for all to see. "But we are still here," Elias continued, his voice rising with conviction. "Despite her cruelty, despite her power, humanity endures. Why? Because we refuse to let her win. Because deep within each of us burns a fire lit by the memory of those we've lost, by the injustice we've endured, and by the hope that one day we can rise again." His words ignited something primal in the room, a spark of defiance that spread like wildfire. Soldiers straightened, their postures stiffening with pride. Some wiped away tears, while others clenched their weapons tighter, ready to act. Even the alien allies present, grizzled veterans from oppressed species who had joined the cause, nodded solemnly, their expressions grim but resolute. "We have suffered enough," Elias declared, his tone hardening. "It's time to take back what is ours. It's time to show the alien queen that humanity does not kneel, that we do not break, that we fight, not out of hatred, but out of love. Love for those we've lost. Love for those still fighting. Love for the future we must build." The chamber erupted into cheers, fists raised high in solidarity. The sound was deafening, a tidal wave of emotion crashing over the walls and spilling into the corridors beyond. Elias waited patiently for the noise to subside before delivering his final order. "To achieve victory, we need every human, and every ally willing to stand with us, to unite under one banner. This isn't just about revenge, it's about reclaiming our place in the galaxy. Tomorrow, we march. Together, we will strike at the heart of her empire. Together, we will make her pay for what she has done." As the crowd roared its approval, Elias turned to face the massive star map projected behind him. With a single gesture, he highlighted key locations: the alien queen's orbital fortress, supply depots, communication hubs, all vulnerable points identified during months of careful planning. "This is our plan," he said, pointing to the glowing markers. "Every squadron has its role. Every soldier matters. Fail in your task, and we fail as one. Succeed, and we rewrite history." Commander Voss stepped forward then, her voice cutting through the fervor. "You've heard your commander. Now prepare yourselves. Restock your gear, sharpen your blades, and steel your hearts. This will be the hardest battle many of you will ever face, but remember, we fight for more than survival. We fight for justice. For freedom. For humanity." With that, the assembly dispersed, leaving Elias alone on the dais. He stared at the star map for a long moment, tracing the path his army would soon follow. The road ahead was perilous, fraught with unimaginable dangers. But as he thought of the boy he once was, the frightened child clutching a tattered toy amidst the ashes, he felt an unshakable certainty settle over him. They would win. Not because they were stronger or better equipped, but because they had something the alien queen could never understand: purpose. In the days that followed, the New Dawn army mobilized with breathtaking efficiency. Ships bristling with weapons launched from hidden docks, their engines roaring as they pierced the void between stars. Ground forces assembled in sprawling staging areas, their uniforms patched and worn but their spirits unyielding. Supplies flowed in from allied colonies, carried by convoys eager to contribute to the cause. Elias moved among his troops, offering words of encouragement and ensuring everyone understood their mission. Despite the enormity of the task ahead, morale remained sky-high. Stories of his leadership spread quickly, bolstered by accounts of his bravery in past battles. To many, he was no longer just a commander, he was a symbol of hope, proof that humanity could rise above even the greatest adversity. Among the ranks were members of other species who had chosen to join the fight. Some were rebels from conquered worlds, others refugees fleeing persecution. All shared a common goal, to dismantle the tyrannical regime that had enslaved them. Their inclusion strengthened the army's resolve, creating a diverse coalition bound by mutual respect and shared suffering. On the eve of departure, Elias gathered his senior officers for a final briefing. Holographic displays showed detailed plans for the assault, including contingency strategies should things go awry. "There's no room for error," he warned, his tone grave. "If we falter, the Queen will crush us without hesitation. But if we succeed," he allowed himself a small smile. "If we succeed, we'll change the course of history." After the meeting, Elias sought solitude, climbing to the observation deck of the flagship. From there, he gazed out at the fleet arrayed before him, hundreds of ships, each carrying thousands of souls united by a single purpose. Stars glittered in the distance, cold and indifferent, yet somehow comforting in their constancy. "Nervous?" came a familiar voice. Commander Voss approached, holding 2 steaming cups of tea. She handed one to Elias, who accepted it gratefully. "A little," he admitted, sipping the warm liquid. "But mostly, proud. Look at them, Reyna. Look at what we've built." Voss followed his gaze, her expression softening. "You've done good, Elias. Better than anyone could have hoped. Just promise me one thing." "What's that?" "Don't get yourself killed out there. Humanity needs you." Elias chuckled softly, though there was no humor in it. "I'll do my best." The invasion began under cover of darkness, cloaked by advanced stealth technology provided by their alien allies. The first wave targeted peripheral installations, drawing enemy forces away from the orbital fortress where the alien queen resided. As explosions lit up distant moons and asteroids, Elias led the main fleet toward the heart of the Empire. When they arrived, the fortress loomed large, its surface gleaming like polished obsidian. Defensive turrets swiveled to track incoming ships, unleashing barrages of energy beams that tore through shields and hulls alike. The battle raged fiercely, with both sides suffering heavy losses. Yet the humans pressed on, driven by the knowledge that retreat meant annihilation. Elias coordinated the assault from the bridge of his flagship, issuing orders with precision born of years of training. Squadrons broke off to disable critical systems, while boarding parties breached the fortress's outer defenses. Chaos erupted inside as alien guards clashed with invading forces, corridors turning into brutal kill zones. Through it all, Elias kept moving forward, leading by example. His blade cut down enemies with ruthless efficiency, his movements fluid and calculated. Around him, his soldiers fought with equal ferocity, their cries of vengeance echoing through the halls. Finally, after hours of relentless combat, Elias reached the throne room. There, seated atop a towering dais, was the alien queen herself. Her luminous form radiated power, her eyes blazing with fury as she rose to confront him. "So," she said, her melodic voice laced with venom, "the boy who survived has returned." Elias tightened his grip on his weapon, his jaw set in determination. "Not just me," he replied. "All of us. And we're here to finish what you started." The queen smiled faintly, almost amused. "Let's see if you're truly ready to face the consequences of your rebellion." With that, the final battle began, a clash of wills, ideologies, and destinies that would determine the fate of the galaxy. The throne room crackled with energy, the air thick with tension as the alien queen rose from her seat. Though time had etched subtle lines into her once flawless features, there was no denying her power now. It radiated from her like a storm, raw and unrelenting. Her shimmering robes flowed around her as though alive, pulsating faintly with an inner light that cast eerie shadows across the chamber. Around her neck hung the same intricate jewels Elias remembered from his childhood, their glow brighter than ever, almost blinding. "You've grown," she said softly, her voice carrying a weight that made Elias's chest tighten. "I see the fire in your eyes, the same defiance that cost me so much years ago." She tilted her head slightly, studying him with an unsettling mix of curiosity and disdain. "But tell me, human, do you truly believe this ragtag army of yours can stand against me? Against this?" With a wave of her hand, the walls of the throne room dissolved into holographic displays showing the battlefield outside. Explosions rained down on both sides, ships disintegrating in fiery bursts while soldiers clashed in brutal melee combat. Dozens of humans lay dead or dying, overwhelmed by superior alien forces. Despite their valiant efforts, it was clear, the tide was turning against them. Elias clenched his jaw but refused to flinch. "It doesn't matter how many fall," he shot back, his voice steady despite the chaos unfolding before him. "We'll keep coming. You can kill us, but you'll never break us." Her smile widened, sharp and predatory. "Ah, such spirit. So reminiscent of your kind, so stubborn, so foolish." She stepped forward, each movement deliberate and commanding. "You think I'm merely an old relic clinging to power? No, boy. I have evolved. While you scavenged scraps and plotted revenge, I became something greater. Something unstoppable." As if to prove her point, the ground beneath them trembled violently. A low hum resonated through the fortress, growing louder with each passing second. The jewels around her neck flared brilliantly, bathing the room in blinding light. When the brilliance faded, the queen stood taller, her form exuding an aura of overwhelming dominance. Her skin seemed to shimmer with molten energy, and her eyes burned like twin suns, piercing through Elias's resolve. "This is my true strength," she declared, her voice amplified and layered, as though multiple voices spoke in unison. "A power forged through centuries of conquest, sacrifice, and evolution. Humanity has always been a thorn in my side, a primitive species too blind to accept its place. But today, I will eradicate that thorn once and for all." Outside the fortress, the war reached a fever pitch. Alien reinforcements poured in from orbit, overwhelming the already strained human forces. Massive walkers lumbered across the battlefield, their weapons unleashing devastating blasts that reduced entire squads to ash. Swarms of drones buzzed overhead, targeting anything that moved, while elite alien warriors cut through human ranks with surgical precision. Yet even in the face of such overwhelming odds, the New Dawn army refused to yield. Soldiers fought with desperate ferocity, knowing full well that retreat meant certain doom. Every life lost spurred another to take up arms, every fallen comrade avenged with renewed determination. In the skies above, human pilots executed daring maneuvers, weaving between enemy fighters and delivering crippling blows whenever possible. Commander Voss led one particularly fierce assault on a defensive turret, rallying her troops with cries of encouragement. "Hold the line," she bellowed, firing her weapon with deadly accuracy. "For every brother and sister who falls, we strike twice as hard." Her words galvanized those around her, spurring them to push deeper into enemy territory. For brief moments, they gained ground, disabling critical systems and disrupting communication networks. But the victories came at a staggering cost. Bodies littered the corridors, blood pooling in grotesque patterns on the metallic floors. The stench of death mingled with the acrid smoke of burning machinery, creating a suffocating atmosphere that tested even the strongest wills. Amidst the carnage, stories of heroism emerged. A young soldier sacrificed himself to detonate a bomb near a walker, buying precious seconds for his squad to regroup. An alien ally used his body as a shield to protect a wounded human child, whispering words of comfort until his last breath. Each act of bravery fueled the resistance, reminding everyone why they fought, not just for survival, but for hope. Inside the fortress, Elias faced the queen alone. His weapon hummed with latent energy as he circled her cautiously, searching for any sign of weakness. But she remained impervious, her movements fluid and unhindered by age or injury. With a flick of her wrist, she summoned tendrils of pure energy, lashing out at him with terrifying speed. Elias barely managed to dodge, rolling to the side as the attack shattered the floor where he'd stood moments earlier. "You cannot win," she taunted, advancing relentlessly. "Every step you take brings you closer to oblivion. Surrender now, and I may grant your people mercy." "Mercy?" Elias spat, parrying another strike with his blade. "Your idea of mercy is slavery. Extermination. You don't understand humanity because you fear what makes us strong. our refusal to give up, no matter the odds. Her expression darkened, and the air around her crackled with fury. Then you leave me no choice, she hissed, raising both hands. The jewels around her neck erupted in a surge of light, and the very fabric of the fortress began to warp and twist. Walls buckled, gravity fluctuated wildly, and debris floated aimlessly as reality itself seemed to unravel. Elias staggered, struggling to maintain his footing as the environment shifted unpredictably. Through the chaos, he locked eyes with the queen, seeing not just a tyrant but a being consumed by her own ambition. Hatred and sorrow churned within him, fueling his resolve. If this was to be his final stand, he would make it count. With a roar of defiance, Elias charged forward, channeling every ounce of strength, skill, and rage into a single decisive strike. The outcome of the battle, and perhaps the fate of humanity itself, hung precariously in the balance. The war raged on, spreading destruction far beyond the confines of the fortress. Entire fleets clashed in orbital dogfights, their wreckage raining down onto the planet below like meteors. Ground forces battled fiercely, neither side willing to cede an inch of territory. Cities crumbled under relentless bombardment, their ruins serving as grim monuments to the price of freedom. Yet amidst the devastation, a glimmer of hope persisted. The combined might of humanity and its allies had struck a blow unlike any the alien empire had faced before. For the first time in decades, the Queen's forces faltered, her seemingly invincible facade beginning to crack. But the cost was immense. Thousands perished in the initial assault, their bodies buried beneath rubble or lost to the void of space. Families mourned loved ones who would never return, their sacrifices immortalized in whispered prayers and solemn ceremonies. Even those who survived bore scars, physical, emotional, and psychological, that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. Despite the losses, the survivors pressed on, driven by the knowledge that their fight was about more than vengeance. It was about proving that humanity could endure, adapt, and overcome. That even in the darkest hour, the light of hope could shine through. And somewhere in the heart of the conflict, Elias stood firm, refusing to let go of the dream that had sustained him since the day he watched his world burn. Together, they would reclaim their future, or die trying. The war had reached its zenith, a crescendo of bloodshed and destruction that left the galaxy trembling. The alien queen's forces, once an unstoppable juggernaut, now staggered under the relentless assault of Elias's united army. Ship by ship, stronghold by stronghold, humanity and its allies chipped away at her empire, dismantling the intricate web of control she had spent centuries weaving. Inside the fortress, Elias fought with every ounce of strength he possessed. His body screamed in protest, muscles aching and lungs burning as he dodged and struck against the queen's overwhelming power. Each blow he landed seemed to barely scratch her glowing form, yet he pressed on, fueled by memories of all he had lost, and all he hoped to reclaim. Finally, after what felt like hours of unrelenting combat, Elias saw his opening. As the queen unleashed another devastating wave of energy, he feinted left, drawing her attack wide. In that split second, he surged forward, driving his blade into the base of one of the jewels around her neck. The gem shattered with a deafening crack, releasing a burst of light so intense it blinded them both momentarily. When Elias regained his vision, the queen knelt before him, her radiant aura dimmed significantly. Her once imposing figure now sagged with exhaustion, her shimmering robes torn and singed. For the first time, vulnerability flickered across her face, a mixture of fear, regret, and something deeper, remorse. "It's over," Elias said, his voice hoarse but resolute. He raised his weapon, its tip hovering inches from her throat. "You've lost." Tears streamed down her cheeks, leaving trails of iridescent liquid that sparkled faintly in the dim light. She looked up at him, her fiery eyes dulled with sorrow. "Please," she whispered, her melodic voice trembling. "Let me speak." Elias hesitated, his grip tightening on his weapon. Part of him wanted to end it, to strike the final blow and ensure her tyranny could never rise again. But another part, quieter yet persistent, urged him to listen. Slowly, he lowered his blade slightly, though he remained poised to act if needed. "I see now what I have done," she began, her words halting but sincere. "For centuries, I believed I was bringing order to chaos, unity to division. But in my pursuit of perfection, I became blind to the suffering I caused. To your suffering." She gestured weakly toward the holographic displays still flickering around them, showing scenes of devastated planets and broken lives. "I destroyed families," she continued, her voice breaking. I erased cultures, extinguished hope, all in the name of progress. And for what? A hollow empire built on fear and ashes. She bowed her head, unable to meet his gaze. I am sorry, Elias. Truly sorry. For everything. Her confession hung heavy in the air, mingling with the smoke and dust of battle. Elias stood frozen, his mind racing. Could he trust her words? Was this genuine remorse, or a final act of manipulation? After a long silence, Elias finally spoke. Your apologies mean nothing unless they're backed by action, he said coldly. You've committed atrocities beyond counting. Millions dead. Billions displaced. How can you possibly make amends for that? She nodded slowly, accepting the weight of his judgment. You're right. I cannot undo what has been done. But perhaps there is still a chance to rebuild. To heal. Elias studied her carefully, searching for any sign of deceit. Yet all he saw was exhaustion and regret. It wasn't forgiveness, he couldn't offer that, but perhaps she deserved a chance to answer for her crimes in full. You will stand trial, he declared firmly. Not just for humanity, but for every species you've oppressed. Every life you've ruined. Your fate will be decided not by me, but by those who have suffered under your rule. Relief washed over her face, though it was tinged with sadness. Thank you, she murmured, for giving me this opportunity. With a curt nod, Elias signaled to his soldiers, who moved swiftly to restrain her. Shackles designed to suppress her immense power were secured around her wrists and neck, rendering her harmless. As she was led away, she cast one last glance at Elias, her expression unreadable but oddly peaceful. In the days that followed, news of the Queen's capture spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Cheers erupted in human settlements and allied colonies alike, celebrations marked by tears of joy and relief. The war was far from over, pockets of resistance remained, and the task of rebuilding would take generations, but the tide had turned irrevocably. Humanity had proven itself resilient, capable of standing toe-to-toe with even the most formidable adversary. Elias addressed the remnants of his army from the ruins of the Queen's fortress, his voice carrying a mix of pride and solemnity. Today, we achieved something many thought impossible, he said, looking out over the battered but determined faces before him. We faced a tyrant who sought to erase us, and we refused to vanish. We fought not just for revenge, but for justice. For freedom. For the future. He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle. But our work is not done. The road ahead will be long and difficult. Rebuilding what was lost will require sacrifice, patience, and unity. Together, we must create a world where no one suffers as we have. Where no one is forced to endure the horrors we've endured. As the crowd erupted into applause, Elias felt a sense of closure wash over him. The boy who had once clung to a tattered toy amidst the ashes of his home had grown into a leader who inspired millions. Though scars remained, both visible and invisible, he knew they would serve as reminders of how far they had come. The alien queen awaited trial aboard a neutral space station, guarded day and night by representatives from multiple species. Her fate would be decided collectively, ensuring fairness and accountability. Whatever the outcome, Elias knew one thing for certain: humanity's story was far from finished. They had survived the storm, and now, they would rise stronger than ever. As the sun rose over the ravaged planet below, casting golden light across the battlefield, Elias allowed himself a rare moment of peace. The galaxy had been scarred, but it was healing. And somewhere in the distance, a small boy played with a patched-up toy, dreaming of a brighter tomorrow.